So good morning, everyone. Welcome to Career Chats, what you can do with your law degree. I'd like to introduce Stephen Kelly. Stephen Kelly began his legal career as a prosecutor in the Middlesex County District Attorney's Office, where he briefed and argued cases before the Massachusetts Appeals Court, including narcotics offenses and violent felonies. He then worked as an associate at the New York City office of the law firm Schultz, Roth, and Zabel, advising clients on their money laundering prevention policies and conducting internal corporate investigations. Kelly returned to the public service in a number of leadership positions with the New York City Department of Consumer Affairs, including the leading adjudication division and the regulatory compliance division, before serving as the associate commissioner for the Office of Labor Policy and Standards, which is responsible for implementing and enforcing municipal labor employment laws. In early 2019, Kelly left city government. He is currently a staff attorney with the Ziegler Family Foundation, which donates to worthy and charitable organizations to improve the world and the lives of others. Prior to attending law school, Kelly was a police officer serving as a senior detective investigator in the Manhattan District Attorney's Office.
Happy to be here and really appreciate the invitation, Christina. As you've all heard, I've been a lawyer now for more than 10 years, and I am currently an attorney with a nonprofit foundation. And although I've held a number of roles both in public service and the private sector, one common theme that runs throughout my career is that I've chosen roles where I can help others, which is a path I think that appeals to many students at John Jay, and certainly in my own academic studies while attending John Jay as an undergraduate and a graduate student. It certainly helped me along this path. Now, I decided to become an attorney when, at the time, I already had a career in law enforcement as a police officer. As you heard, I worked in the Manhattan District Attorney's Office alongside some of the nation's top prosecutors, but I had accomplished many of the goals that I had set for myself as a police officer and felt that I could do more to help people as a lawyer, not simply reacting to criminal activity as it was about to occur or had occurred, but to provide and argue for justice on behalf of victims and vulnerable individuals. In choosing what law school I went to, there were three factors that really played into my decision: the national ranking of the school, the affordability, and then the postgraduate opportunities for employment. I chose Boston University School of Law after deciding to go to the best law school that I got into, and that was BU, which at the time was ranked in the top 20, although it did mean that I did not attend the school that was offering financial assistance, which was William & Mary. Another deciding factor was location, and it was a consideration because I wanted to go to a law school near where I wanted to practice after graduation, and that was New York City. For those of you who are contemplating law school, these and other factors will certainly weigh into your consideration, as well as how to prepare best for law school. Myself, I certainly read a few books about the first year of law school and consulted with lawyers that I knew, although there is no real substitute for the unique experience that is law school. It's just something that if you're going to do it, you have to do it and get through it. My experience is a little bit unique in that I had a career prior to law school, so I was a little bit older as a student attending law school. But that career, specifically that career as a police officer, influenced how I practice law now, in that the prior career helped me develop investigative and fact-gathering skills that are useful regardless of the type of law that I practice. And it also helped build interpersonal skills, how to speak and relate to different audiences, which is something that I found myself doing during the course of my legal career, whether it be trying to persuade city council members to pass a certain law or to build trust with an undocumented worker who is harmed by an unlawful workplace practice. Like any job, there are certain parts of it that are rewarding, and there are certain parts of it that are difficult or challenging. By choosing roles in public service and now in the nonprofit space, what I've found most rewarding is the opportunity to see how my and my team's work directly benefits people or communities that are vulnerable. At the nonprofit now, we're working to fund organizations that ensure that meals continue to be delivered to food insecure communities and medical supplies get to healthcare workers. But there are also those challenges, and the challenges include that despite your best effort and the incredibly intelligent individuals around you, there is an inability to help everyone. A lot of times people ask what a typical day looks like for a lawyer, and I think that that varies depending on what you do and where you do it. Right now in the nonprofit, my day is spent drafting and reviewing grant agreements that provide the funding for those organizations working to improve others' living conditions. So my workday is rather structured now. But when I was serving as the associate commissioner for New York City's Office of Labor Policy and Standards, every day was different. It felt as though we were just moving from one crisis to another, from a business that was taking advantage of their immigrant workforce to ICE raids on workplaces that could lead to detention or possible deportation. But the positive and the most rewarding experiences certainly outweigh those more frustrating and challenging ones. I was lucky enough to help draft and represent the mayoral administration before the city council that advanced legislation that allowed survivors of domestic violence, sexual assault, and stalking to take time off from work to attend to their needs without fear of being fired. Remains the work that I'm most proud of, and it's something that I certainly would not have been able to do if I was not an attorney and had not gotten my law degree. The biggest advice that I have for people who are considering following a career path similar to mine is that it's important to consider both the time investment and the financial investment of law school. It's incredibly expensive, and the economy and the legal job market are always a factor. Unfortunately, those who are graduating this year are going to enter a really tough jobs market. And if you're really focused or interested rather in a really focused area of law, make sure you've spoken to as many people who do that job as possible and learn from them. So a lot of research should go into whether the investment is worth it, because your academic choices should always move you forward. You do not want to graduate law school, face tens of thousands of dollars of debt, not have any employment opportunities or not have the employment opportunity that you envisioned for yourself, which made you decide to go to law school, and then be trapped with that debt. Regardless of the different roles that I've chosen in my law career, there are some expectations that were shared throughout those roles, which included having an excellent attention to detail and being able to learn quickly because the law always changes. And these are things that you should prepare yourself for. The differences between where I practiced and how I practice mainly include the availability of resources. There is just so much more money in the private sector. And unfortunately, that means that in government work, you have to work with those limited resources. And there's an element of frustration in government work because you can't do everything you want to help the most vulnerable. If you are considering law school and you don't know exactly what you want to do, but with that law degree, rest assured, because there will be times during law school to decide your area of practice. Many people change their minds multiple times while they're in law school. And plus, the job market may determine where you land your first job. So again, it's really important that attending law school doesn't set you back financially to the point where you can't choose what you want to do because you just need a paycheck and any paycheck to provide for your family. Now, looking back, I constantly reflect on the decision I made to go to law school when I already had a good career in law enforcement, as well as the decisions that I made as a lawyer. I think it's natural to second guess and to wonder what may have happened if I made different decisions. But ultimately, I have continued to accomplish my goal of helping people in my work. I rely on that and believe that I made the right decision. the last piece of advice before I open it up to any questions is, what aside from your academic studies would I recommend in trying to land the job? And this goes whether it be in a legal career or anything else. As someone who's been responsible for recruiting and hiring, internships show prospective employers that you've gained practical experience during your academic studies. Plus, they provide a unique chance to network and learn about career opportunities. Networking is always difficult, but meeting people and hearing how they got to where they are and what choices they made and what they would do differently, these are all things that you won't necessarily get in the classroom, but they're instrumental in helping you along your career path. And with that, I hope I've answered some of the questions that you may have had that made you decide to attend the career chat. But once again, I'm open to helping you out with anything else that you're interested in.